What up, everybody? It's the boys at Through the Ropes with Jake, Paris, and Drew. We have an interesting little episode coming to you. We're going to cover UFC France. We're going to cover UFC 307, Fusion Fight League in the middle of October, Bare Knuckle at the end of the month, and then we got Bare Knuckle coming back to Montana, baby, November 9th. Drew, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, just recovering from that ankle surgery, so it's super fun.
Yeah, it's bugging you a little bit. I'm sorry to hear that, but
that's part of growing up.
Yeah. Luckily, you have an amazing shirt on right now to help boost your mood.
This is my boy Piggy. This is my shot I took over at Giant Springs. Looking pretty handsome there.
Now, who's your good boy?
Yeah, he's the best boy.
All right, well, let's get right into it. We got UFC France. It was a pretty awesome card. I think there was at least 3 KOs and 2 by decision. We started it off with Frivola versus ZM. Frivola had some pretty good stats. He was 11-4-1. One of his 3 of last 4. He had the 5th highest knockdown rate. ZM sat at 15-4 with 3. He was on a 3-fight win streak, highest significant strike rate amongst active UFC lightweights, and he had the 2nd best strike absorption rate in current active UFC fighters. So this one was going to seem like it was going to be a banger to me. Frivola also had some pretty strong wrestling skills. Marab is a training partner of his. So pretty big card, or pretty big fight. It started off really good. Frivola was blocking a couple leg kicks, and he scored an early takedown. And he slowly was working towards trying to get a guillotine, but ZM kind of gets out of that. Frivola then kind of tries for an arm bar where ZM rolls out and mounts Frivola and starts to deliver a couple really big right hands. Drew, what did you kind of see at the beginning of that fight?
Well, to be honest with you, that first part of that card was pretty... They started out as a banger right away, so I was enjoying the exchanges that they had going back and forth. So
Yeah, like I said, Frivola had scored that early takedown, and it looked like he was really going to try and use his wrestling advantage there. But ZM was doing pretty good on some defensive stuff to keep him. Like I said, he had that looking like a guillotine earlier, and then kind of almost went for a weird armbar. He did this flip thing. So
wasn't he like trying to do? It was like a ninja choke or something like that.
Yeah, it was some pretty good grappling there for a minute, like I said. And I think ZM from the beginning was really good with applying some pressure. Frivola right off the jump was kind of throwing some. I don't know if I want to say haymaker rights, but he did throw throughout the fight quite a few kind of wild right hands, if you will.
Yeah, trying to take his head off.
Yeah. So and then in the last minute 30, they both stood up and had some really good exchanges, with ZM landing a lot of significant strikes in that round to close it off. So then leading into round 2, both parties were throwing really good punches, and once again ZM was being the aggressor, in my opinion. So he was landing a lot more significant strikes right off the bat, and he was landing a lot of these 1-2s, 1-2-3s, or 3-2 combinations, and he was mixing in a little bit of body work with that as well, which was getting Frivola kind of flustered, if you will. He just didn't really know what to look for.
It's hard to kind of go off if you're trying to predict what your opponent's doing. It's hard when they're mixing it up, obviously.
Right.
So, and just working pretty good. Oh, yeah, working good on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, and it wasn't he wasn't throwing anything super crazy, but it seemed like once Frivola was focusing on the up top stuff, he would throw just a nasty uppercut or just hard right body shot. So. And
it kind of makes you think twice before taking that shot too. If you think that guy's going to throw an uppercut through the middle, you're less likely to put your face on that.
Yeah. So then ZM scores another big takedown near the end of the round, and then ZM was starting to throw some nasty little right elbows, and then following with some right-handed punches. A lot of top control there, in my opinion. So
you got to get the damage in when you can, especially in these 3-round battles.
Yeah,
you just kind of have to make your points.
Yeah, and he was definitely, once again, he was scoring a lot of significant strikes and being the aggressor throughout the entire fight. I think either in the first or early in the second, ZM also cut Frivola open, I believe, above his left eye.
And that kind of plays into your psyche as the fighter. Now you have a timer on. If this gets worse, they could stop the fight. And no one wants the doctor to stop the fight.
Right, exactly.
They barely want the ref to stop the fight.
Yeah, and it seems, obviously that's just kind of a thing to go for. After that, you get get a nice little cut. I mean, obviously they're going to want to focus on that and attack that as best they can.
When the ref's not looking. I'm all for like dirty fighting as long as you don't get caught.
Right.
And so you like, oh no, I pushed against his face. And that's what they always kind of like, you don't meet. I'm not putting a finger in the wound, but I am pushing, applying pressure on that part of their face.
Literally rubbing salt in the wound.
Yes.
So then round 3 starts off, and ZM once again just immediately comes in, throwing some nice straights, followed by some nice hooks. Once again, that 1, 2, 3 kind of stuff. He scores once again an early takedown. About the 2-minute mark, they were really clinched up, really tight. They're pressing up against the fence, and that's when ZM decides to throw just an insane, nasty right knee to Favola there.
Oof.
Oh, man.
That's nasty. As he turns into it.
Yeah, it was just crazy because like I said, they were clenched up, and he kind of let him go. He just set him up for it, and he just, as he's releasing him, he follows through with that right and just connects perfectly under Favola's chin there, and that was lights out for Favola after that. So.
Oh man, like so, just kind of pretty that high knee like that without doing a jump. He just like literally threw like a Muay Thai knee as the guy spun around. That's insane.
Literally perfect timing. We're watching it again right now here. And the ref did a great job of jumping in immediately. I think he got maybe one more shot just to make sure that he had finished him off, but he was done after that knee. Here it is again.
He's got him.
Oof. Oh. Yeah, and Favola, as he's rolling out, kind of looks like he ducks down, and he comes into that knee perfectly. So.
I think he was trying to, you were talking about the elbows earlier. I think he was trying to come underneath that elbow and then just caught the knee instead, which Muay Thai.
Well, and that's just what, we were talking about. ZM was doing a great job of establishing those combos up top and then mixing in other stuff. And he got Favola once a little flustered, if you will. And he went to, like you said, maybe duck the elbow and ended up taking a fat knee to the chin instead. Yeah. So,
or he could have been going for a single, anything like that, turning in. But man, that's it.
So
lights out.
I obviously was going for Favola because USA all the way, and but France took a big win to start off the card there,
which the crowd needed.
Yeah,
it's really good.
And like we talked earlier, the crowd was fun the entire night. I mean, they were chanting. I mean, they had these cool songs and chants. It was almost like a soccer stadium type feel. They were getting behind their hometown fighters, if you will, and it made the energy. It was a lot different. Like I think you had said, it was like watching UFC back in the day.
Yeah, it's like the France crowds are like the European crowds in general are like UFC fans in America 10 years ago. So when the stand-up's going, they're going to be loud as hell. When their fighters winning, they're going to be really loud. But when it kind of stalls out even a little bit, if it gets in too much to the technical grappling, they kind of lose interest really fast and voice their opinion.
Yeah. So then we got the second fight of the night, which is Charrière versus Miranda. Charrière was from France and Miranda was from Brazil. Charrière was 19-10-1 and Miranda was 17-6. So to start off round 1, there was both were actually throwing some really quick, nice exchanges. Miranda attempts an early takedown, which led to a bit of grappling along the fence there. Charrière eventually, they stand back up. Charrière eventually gets a takedown and lands some really nice elbows on Miranda, which I think it didn't necessarily daze him, but it got him a little dinged up early in that fight, I think. So I think they grapple for a little bit and they get back to the ground, and Miranda a couple of times was going for the takedown attempt, and Charrière was doing a really good job of stuffing those takedowns, and then on this one here in particular, he ends up reversing it and getting his own takedown. In the first round, I think it was saying that he had gone 3 for 3 on stuffing takedown attempts. So that's pretty big there. So
him out grappling a 3 times Brazilian black belt. Right. You know what I mean? Jiu-jitsu black belt is a kind of like a big deal.
Right. Exactly.
Especially when you think, again, we go back to these European fighters, a lot of things they dog on is, maybe they're grappling. If they're not from Russia, they kind of get on them for their grappling. Yeah. And then be able to hold your own against a guy of that caliber.
Right. So yeah, it was a lot of, decent grappling on the ground, takedown attempts, stuffing, takedown attempts. And they both stood up, some good stand up, a little bit of exchanges. A lot of stuff was done on the ground though, as far as exchange wise. And then with about the last 20 seconds or so, Miranda was landing some really good blows. They stood back up and he scored some nice significant strikes with the last 20 seconds. Sorry about that. And then, so yeah, leading into round 2, Charrier lands an early KO in about the first 30 seconds. They clinched up after breaking off. They were clinched up. They split, and Miranda kind of throws this kind of, I don't want to disrespect, but kind of a lazy spinning back fist, if you will. And it was like after he threw this kind of judo kick between his legs, and Charrier just kind of took advantage of it and landed a ferocious left hand for the KO on that.
Now watching it back, he did land the spinning back fist, though.
Yeah.
His defense.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying that he didn't hit it. It just seemed like he didn't. It was just kind of almost an afterthought of spinning, because he had spun out, and I think he realized he was in a weird position. Yeah. So the best thing to maybe save that was him at least putting the fist out and trying to make connection.
Yeah.
Charrier just had, I mean, that, like you said, he landed, but Charrier just had the power behind him on that.
He ate a left hook for his efforts.
Yeah.
Like perfectly timed on the chin as he spins around. I'm like, okay, that's game. Yeah. You know, but that was a good fight. I was really impressed by Charrier.
Yeah.
He did make me a fan. So now France is 2-0 going into the finals.
So the crowd's probably getting pretty amped at that point. Like you said, France is up 2-0 on the rest of the world, if you will, on the main card. So it was a good fight. The next one was a really good one that we both enjoyed. I know there was a little bit of controversy you talked about. I'll let you get into that here in just a minute. So we have Brian Battle versus Kevin Josette. So Battle was 11-2-1, and Josette was 10-2. Battle obviously was an Ultimate Fighter 29 winner. That was Volkanovski's team, I think, is who he won with. He had the 6th highest knockdown rate and the 6th fastest finish in UFC history at 14 seconds. And for Josette, he was on a really nice 5-fight win streak. I kind of had him picked just because he was a judo black belt, and he'd also have 4 of his 10 wins were by KO. So you knew that both of these guys were coming to throw down in this one. There's going to be some really good striking.
Josette switched his training camp. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he went down to that with New Zealand with Volk. Yeah, like we're saying, was that Battle or was that him?
I'm not sure. Battle was who won with Volk.
Okay.
So it was probably him. I don't know.
Guys was down there. The judo guy had switched gyms and was doing good with his stand-up. Okay. So now he had, I'm trying to remember what that stat was where he switched his gym to. Yeah. Because they were talking about that on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the fight is kind of crazy to start off. Battle was really testing the grappling. He spent a big chunk of the round trying to take down Josette. They spent a lot of time against the fence there, tied up there. Both kind of started, they broke up a little bit. Actually, right at the beginning when he first started grappling and had him press against the fence, Josette threw kind of like a judo throw and just smashed Battle's head off the ground so hard. It was nasty looking. And he maintained, I think he had a wizard, but he maintained that, getting his head slammed. Mm-hmm. And he managed to stand back up with Josette still kind of, leading the clinch, if you will.
I'm trying to remember if one of those, Josette hit it with the wizard, and then he did, I can't remember the Japanese name for that judo throw.
Yeah.
And he smacked him on his head, like you said. He kind of squared back out and came back into him. I think he used his underhook to get back to the cage and applied pressure against the cage.
It was pretty impressive to take a shot. I mean, it sounded loud just through the TV. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I could only imagine how badly that probably hurt. So it was pretty impressive for him to be able to maintain composure there and not only get back on his feet, but kind of maintain the better half of that clinch, in my opinion, on that.
Well, if you're the guy pushing him against the fence, the judges like that.
Yeah. So then they both kind of separated after some more grappling, and they both, honestly, in my opinion, started landing some really nice blows. It was about the 215 mark or so in round 1. And they really started exchanging some nice stuff. Once again, they tie up Josette. That's when I was saying again, lands an amazing judo throw. It was the second one he'd caught on Battle. And it was just, like I said, pretty impressive for Battle to basically be getting his head slammed against the mat with extreme force and being able to maintain himself and maintain his fight plan, if you will.
And that's like one of the best displays of judo we've seen in there in the men's division. We'll leave the girls out of it for a minute.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that in the upcoming card.
So yeah, it was just really good. And they both ended the round actually exchanging. They were throwing some really nice throughout the whole entire fight. In between the grappling, I think there was some really good exchanges between them. In my personal opinion, I had Josette winning the first round just based off of his takedown defense, the judo throws, and then the significant strikes that he was landing as well.
Yeah, Josette was landing better strikes. His had more meaning behind him. Not saying that Battle was, pillow hands, but Josette was just definitely hitting crisper.
Just a little harder for sure.
Yeah.
So then we got round two starts off. Both of them start the round off hot with Battle really trying to apply some pressure, and he was landing some nice elbows and uppercuts mixed in with some jabs and other things. They continue to stand up and throw blows with Battle starting to kind of pick apart Josette. I think in the first minute of the round, I don't remember if it was at the end of the first or early in the second, but Josette really starts to wear some of those punches landed by Battle. He starts bleeding out of the nose. I think his eye was starting to swell up just a little bit. You could just tell that out of the two who were landing the punches, Battle, I think, was throwing a little bit heavier behind his.
I think Josette was hitting harder, but Battle just kept the volume up, and no one punch was knocking him loopy. But you just keep getting hit with these simple combos, and if you're not, if they're hitting clean, they don't have to be super hard. You just have to have by the numbers. I think Diaz brothers going to show that too.
When I think earlier in the round one and round two, Battle he wasn't throwing as hard, but he started to get into a rhythm. I think in maybe a minute and a half into the second round, he really starts to get into a rhythm, and I think that's when you've seen him really starting to throw a little bit more power behind some of his punches.
Into his punches a little bit.
Yeah,
I think he ate I think he ate what Josette had, the best that he had, and said, I can survive this.
Right.
If I just keep applying pressure, he's going to break first.
Yeah, if he just chips away. And then I think he realized that he was starting to cause some fractures in Josette's game, and I think that's when he really started to attack there. And then it was about at the 130 mark, Battle just really begins to land a nasty little flurry, some left, right, 1-2 left hook and mixed in right hook, you know what I mean? Then I think he landed an uppercut or two. And that's when he just lands this nasty left that shakes Josette, and then Josette kind of steps back a little bit along the fence, and that was about the 118 mark. Josette, 118 or 110. Josette ends up against the fence with Battle just teeing off on him with right hands. I think he lands 4 or 5 when he's up against the fence, where he just eats them so hard, dude. And 1, 2, 3, he just is teeing off at him at that point, just setting up the right hand. What is that, 5 or 6 right there? And then the ref finally steps in to stop the fight. It was obvious that Josette hadn't fallen down, but it was obvious he was done.
Well, he wasn't intelligently defending himself.
Right.
He could have stopped it a few punches early, but that was a good job by Herb Dean.
Right.
I know he gets a lot of hate sometimes, especially when you have the commentary turned on.
Right. Well, and I mean, it just sometimes, it's a big card there across the pond. They want to put on a good show for these people. So it's a tough call, and especially that situation, because they were throughout the fight exchanging, both of them, a lot of blows. And some of those guys have tough chins. They can take 4 or 5 of those and then bounce back. We've seen it before. So
or they land a takedown off of it or something, or they just, like you said, going down. I think it was that Pat Barry versus Czech Congo. And then Barry was wounded going down, and then just throws a haymaker right, knocks him out.
And so then the next fight that we have here was Brito versus Gomez, I believe is how they said it. Brito is 17-3-1, and Gomez is 13-2. Brito had the second longest active UFC finish streak at 5 finishes, and Gomez was on 11 and is on an 11 fight win streak, and 7 of his wins were by KO. This one was an interesting fight because I feel like there was a lot more grappling involved and a lot more striking from the ground. Round one, both start off with they were both doing some really nice leg kicks and checking leg kicks, throwing some nice punches that led to a takedown attempt by Gomez, where Brito actually was able to stuff it. They kind of grapple for a little bit there, and then Brito ends up getting his own takedown, but Gomez actually flips that around and gets top control on him. They eventually get to their feet and they continue exchanging knees and punches and everything like that. And then with about the last 25 seconds of the first round, they spent with both parties throwing some really mean punches and leg kicks, with Brito landing a super hard left to basically end the round. I think there was like 5 seconds left.
I think, Gomez jumps guillotine as the bell rings. I think he had him against it. I think he had him knocked. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to set it up. I don't think he had it super tight, and he was able to kind of shake that off. And
it was like the bell rings. But at that point, you might as well look good for the judges.
Right. And so then round 2 starts off. Both guys, once again, were firing a lot of shots, trying to work in those leg kicks where they could. Gomez was landing some insanely hard body shot leg kicks to the body. Like you could hear Brito like in the which once again, like to be able to audibly hear that through the TV, like he was they sounded nasty and it just sounded like they were painful. Even though he was taking some of those shots, Brito managed to get another takedown. A chunk of this round too was Brito on top, just kind of smothering Gomez. It wasn't like a lot of exchanging, a little bit of close punching, trying to throw in elbows, mixing in a little bit of that body work.
And it was some good grappling.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, they were working, get back to the feet, use the defense appropriately, getting their underhooks, moving their hips. And
when I try not to make it seem like it wasn't boring by any stretch of the imagination. They were both, it was very technical when they were in that tight clinch work. And people think just because you're super close and you throw like a close punch, that maybe that doesn't hold a lot behind it, but these guys know what they're doing down there. So it was really interesting to see the chess match, if you will, between the two there.
Yeah.
And then eventually they get to their feet, and within the last 28 seconds, we see Gomez land some really nice leg kicks on Brito, and I think he lands a knee with about 10 seconds left in that round.
He gets a glancing head kick.
Yeah.
Brito eats it, though. Keeps up pressure as round ends. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, Gomez, it was really tight, but I think he was kind of leading just based off of the pressure and just some of that clinch work close. The leg kicks, I think a couple of those hard body the leg kicks to the body kind of was scoring him a little bit higher. Brito didn't seem like he was super affected by them, but you know what I mean? I just thought they were good exchanges by him. I just thought Brito looked faster with better movement, very aggressive. So. And then, round 3, we got Gomez lands a super hard leg kick to Brito's body once again. It was the kind of a continuing theme there with the body, or the leg kicks to the body, leg kicks to the leg. He was checking him quite a bit. Both kind of stay on their feet, with Gomez landing some really significant strikes. This last round was a lot more of them standing up for a while, exchanging some good punches, some really good exchanges once again. So then Brito manages to take Gomez's back and spends most of the rest of the round there kind of trying to work in some type of submission. He was going for a standing guillotine, and then Brito had to spin out. He gave the position up and spun to the ground so he wouldn't get choked. Yeah. I think that happened about 2-3 times in that round. So it was a lot of stuff on like side control, and like you're saying, taking his back, and then they get back to their feet, and then Gomez knew that he keeps giving his neck up, so he just kept, and that was in too. If he wouldn't have gave up position, he was going to sleep. Right. But like any coach will tell you, stop getting your head put in there, and then you'll stop getting choked. Right. Yeah, and like I said, the rest of the fight was mostly them just exchanging, grappling, and trying to work in something. The fight ends up going to a decision with Gomez taking the W on that. So that seems fair, especially with the head kick at the end of round 2, and then just in dominant position in round 3. I gave the first round to Brito, but it was a good fight. Like I said, I just think Gomez was scoring higher just based off of some of the significant strikes with the legs, and he landed some really nice combos in there. He was once again mixing in like a 3-2 uppercut to a straight jab type of thing. So in my opinion, I just think he was landing the heavier of the punches and the stuff that was doing the more damage. So it was a really good fight. And then with that, once again the crowd was excited. It was third time time France had taken a win. So this next one was, in my opinion, out of all the fights, I don't want to say the least interesting, but the least amount of like striking. It was a super technical grappling battle. We had Brandon Allen versus Imavov. I hope I said that correctly. Imavov. I've listened to him say it like 20 times earlier. So Allen was 24-5, repping the good old US of A, and Imavov was 14-4-1 with no contest. This was like I said, a grappler's dream, if you will, because both these guys were really strong grapplers. With Allen had the third longest active win streak in middleweight division with 6. He had the second most submissions in UFC middleweight with 6 as well. And so Imavov was on back-to-back wins, had the highest significant strike defense amongst UFC middleweights at 62%. So, you weren't kind of really sure what was going to happen. You know, when you got a dude that's so good at defending the stand-up game, and Allen is so strong with wrestling, you kind of would almost guess, Allen's going to try a lot of that takedown, which is honestly what we saw a lot of the fight. Round 1, Allen scores a nice early takedown, which led to him holding control over Imavov for basically the whole round.
Yeah,
where
he got him with a body lock, just simple body lock takedown, and then landed in side control. But Imavov worked back to full guard by the end of the round, and Allen really didn't do much damage.
Right. So. Yeah, in my opinion, Allen did control most of the round, but he didn't do much. There was a couple of times where he could have set up the elbow or a downward punch. It just didn't seem like he was taking advantage of some of the positions that he got throughout that round.
And it's easy to say that, but if he gave that space for the elbow, Imavov is so good that he's going to use that space to get up. Right. So he was just trying to control this guy on the ground as best he could. And even with him trying to work as hard as he can, instead of getting mount, he got back to full guard. So he still won the round though, easily.
Yeah. 10. So just simply based off of controlling Imavov that round. Yeah. And then in the second round we have Imavov blocks an early takedown attempt, which leads to him having control. They kind of sit there for a little bit, and then he actually gets off of Allen and allows him to get back up. That's where they start to kind of exchange a little bit, with Imavov landing some really nice shots. So they exchange a little bit, and then Imavov ends up, I can't remember if he gets on top of Allen again based off of I think he stopped takedown attempt.
What he was doing is he was using that half Nelson. Yeah. When he come there and stuff the takedown, and then when he'd push him down, Allen would pull guard. Yeah. And so he'd end up in there, and then, he was doing way more damage from the guard or from the top position.
Yeah, he was stuffing. It seemed like Allen, I don't want to say that's all he had, but it just seemed like that was what he really focused on maybe during his training camp, and that's what he really wanted to stick to was his... Yeah.
Well, who's that jack of all trades, master of none? He might as well just be one-sided and be really good at it. Yeah. Unfortunately, when the other guy can negate that one side, you're kind of left exposed.
Right. So Imavov was landing some nice shots from the top control there. They get back up. Allen goes for another double leg, I believe is what he went for, and Imavov, stuffs it again. He eventually tries for a Peruvian necktie.
Yeah, he was set for that, for the Peruvian, because he kind of gave his neck. And I saw a lot of these submission attempts. And really round 2 was just a lot of Allen shooting, Imavov stuffing, getting him in a bad position and like countering out. And Allen just wanted to get him to the ground.
Taking what he could.
Yeah, he said, so I'll pull guard as long as you stop hitting me.
Right. So in that round was really good. Imavov actually went 3 for 3 on takedown defense. And in that round, he went 32 for 46 versus Allen's 13 of 25 significant strikes. So
he was landing on the feet. Yeah, between the stuff and the takedowns, he was landing significant strikes.
He was taking advantage of being on top when he was stuffing those takedowns. So and then round 3, we got Imavov stuffs yet another one of Allen's takedown attempts, while he also ends up landing a couple really nice strikes there. With about less than half the round left, Allen actually starts landing some really nice knees and punches. Like he felt, I think he knew that the fight was close. I think it was 10-9 first round and then 10-8 Imavov second.
Yeah, and I gave the third was just like, I just have written here, more stuffing takedowns. Yeah. And just winning on the feet. He was just landing crisp exchanges. Yeah. Stuffing the takedowns. I mean, it's not like Allen rolled over and let him win, but
I think he waited way too long in the third. Because I think it was like a minute and a half. He really started to turn up the heat. He was landing some really nice strikes, and within the last, I think it was like 25 seconds, both end the round, exchanging some really nice, significant strikes. It was just a little too late, I think, for Allen with how well Imavov did in the second round. It was just for how close the third was. You know, in my opinion, I thought Imavov won, and then it went to a judge's decision, and he actually did end up winning it.
Unanimously.
So that was another big one, because I don't remember if he was from France, but that was another U.S.
Oh yeah,
he was okay.
Nice.
So that's another one for France over USA. So they obviously were really stoked about that, because the coolest thing they got other than that is French fries over there. So no, I'm just kidding.
The Eiffel Tower is pretty cool too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess they have that in coffee shops and other stuff.
No, oui.
So yeah, and then now we come to the main card. Moicano, who was 19-5-1 versus Saint Denis, who was 13-2-1 with a no contest. Saint Denis had won 5 of his last 6 and had finished all 13 of his wins, which is pretty impressive in my opinion, which isn't much, but it's an opinion. And then Moicano was on a 3-fight win streak, and he was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. So, I mean, I kind of had him picked solely based off of that. Leading up to, we found out later on after the fight, he fought with a separated shoulder, I believe.
Ugh,
so he
got that picture, pull it up.
He had suffered like, oh my God, it looks like mine here. Let's do his and mine. We should do a
oh my God, look at that.
My little chicken wing. So
oh my God, yeah.
So he had suffered that, was it 3 weeks before the event, and he didn't let anyone know just because he didn't want to pull out.
His last hard sparring session.
I have some notes on this, but I also want Paris to step in now, because this is the fight that he was able to watch, because he is a busy man, and he was busy that weekend. So Paris, why don't you just go ahead and tell us what you saw? You and Drew go ahead and kind of go through this, and then I'll kind of just cover some little stuff if I feel like it.
I thought it was really cool, like how he was able to win pretty much all of the grappling exchanges, especially with Benoit being such a good wrestler also. And then just when he got on top, and then he just started dropping those elbows, that's really like when he obviously like cut him up, and you can see the damage that he did to him right here.
And this is right after the fight, so just imagine by the end of the day, those guys, he might not be as he's gonna be black. He's probably still black and blue. This is a week later, you know.
yeah, definitely. Like,
I think Moicano cut him pretty early in the first, didn't he? He got on top and landed a nasty.
Dude, he was
elbow
on top of him really early in that round.
Yeah.
The fact that Saint Denis survived that round, I was super surprised. It's just a testament to the man's heart. 99% of the division or the roster.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the striking difference in this. I mean, Renato Moicano with 57 strikes, 86% accuracy, and then you see Benoit with just in round 1 with only 12 strikes. And I mean, some of those were probably from the bottom as well, just trying to run him off. But yeah, those elbows when he was on top of him, just they're
nasty.
So much damage.
I almost couldn't watch. It was like, you know, they're like,
I could
stop it, he's dead. He's dead already. Stop. Yeah, but kudos to him. I think he got back to the feet by the end of the round, didn't he?
So what I got here is early in the beginning, Moicano takes Saint Denis' foot and scores an early takedown. Some really good grappling from both while exchanging shots. And then, once again, Moicano lands some nasty elbows from top control and cuts open Denis actually around the 230 mark. And then I think it was about 145 or so. Moicano spends most of the rest of the round running a brutal ground and pound game on him. I think, about the last minute and a half or so was literally, and then, I think right near the end, like 12 seconds or so, Saint Denis actually does, I think, manage, I can't remember, but
I know.
I think he manages to stand back up. So,
yeah, because in the second round, you got right here, Benoit with 23 strikes, and then Renato only got 15 on that one. Okay. That was probably 15.
And he stuffed some good takedowns on that, takedown attempts. He was really starting to fire, but Moicano just kind of...
Yeah.
He had built up so much damage in that first round. I'm surprised they let it go to the second round, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing his corner talk, because I feel like in between from what I watched on ESPN Plus, they went to commercial break for a lot of stuff, but they stuck with these guys obviously because it was the main card.
Yeah.
But you could just tell his left eye was so bad in between rounds. I was shocked, not shocked, but you were like, oh shit, I don't know if they're gonna let that one keep going. So Paris, what did you see round 2 there?
Round 2, once again, just that on top, winning the grappling exchanges, just dropping those elbows, and then obviously it led to this, and then the doctor stoppage after the second round. Because, I mean, you can't even see out of that eye.
Yeah, this isn't Rocky. You know what I mean? Look, how many fingers I got up?
Yeah, and once they covered up his other eye, there was obviously no way that he could see with that. I mean, maybe 10% of his vision from all of those strikes, which is crazy. And just the craziest thing to me is Renato doing all of that with that separated shoulder. I hurt my shoulder just like benching or something like a few months ago, and like I haven't done jiu-jitsu in like 6 months maybe. And the fact that he did like a professional thing like with a separated shoulder like that, and then one grappling exchanges, it just shows to how high level and badass these guys are.
Yeah, 3 weeks out. I mean, it's one thing to be doing that if it had happened a couple months or whatever before, but yeah, to be 3 weeks out and that's he probably was still in pain, I would assume, because when I separated this, it took me a while to get it. So I mean, for him to push through that pain, continue to train and everything like that, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you just see like what kind of savages these guys are. Like even when Sean O'Malley hurt his foot in his fight, I can't remember who against.
It was Cheeto, wasn't it?
No, that was so Cheeto. He lost that one, and
sorry.
And then there was another one. I can't remember who he fought.
I was thinking the fight before that because I knew he messed up his right foot.
Yeah, he messed up his right foot, and then he fought like the whole like rest of the round.
Yeah,
like on one foot basically, and then went down on the ground and.
Sorry for bringing that up, Sean. My bad.
That was like a triangle. I can't remember. He hit him with a submission and won.
Yeah. So for what I saw both were kind of at the beginning staying on their feet and throwing some really calculated shots with obviously Moicano focusing on Saint Denis' left eye there, trying to just do as much damage as he could, it felt like. Denis, though, in my opinion, he was still managing to stuff a couple of takedown attempts from Moicano. To me, Moicano kind of let off the gas in that round. Allowing Saint Denis to kind of creep back in with him leading in significant strikes. I think they were saying Moicano, the numbers I had wrote down, you showed a different stat, but that was, post-fight stats. For what I had first round, Moicano was 29-4 significant strikes. And I think after the end of the second round, Denis was up like 18-11 significant strikes. And it just seemed, like I said, like Moicano was taking a more calculated approach to it, just really trying to end that fight. I'm not saying he was hoping for a doctor stoppage, but he was just hoping to do as much damage to that eye.
He saw a weak spot and was exploiting it.
Well, I mean, his left eye was basically swollen shut, between the first and second round. So then obviously, as we covered there, in between the second and the third round, the judge, they let him, do his corner thing, and then the judge stepped in, checked him over, and then decided that Saint Denis was not fit to continue the rest of the fight. So Moicano wins by, what do they call it? A decision by
TKO.
That's doctor stoppage.
Yeah,
okay.
TKO by doctor stoppage.
Okay. So for me, that was a super fun card to watch. Some really good fights. Like I said, what was that? Only 2 of them that went to decision. The rest were KOs, and just really good, grappling, a lot of good striking, and just a fun card overall. Like we said, the French crowd was really into it, and it made it a lot of fun. And anytime the fans are getting stoked like that, and just like I said, the chants and just everything about the atmosphere there seemed like a lot of fun. And the
thing on that too is like these French boys, even when the ones that lost, like they gave their everything in that cage.
Yeah.
So everyone put on a really good show, really good event. They were really going at it. So I enjoyed it, especially for a free fight.
Right.
You're going to take this. Yeah.
It was good. It was good, dude.
And you can tell that some of these guys, it was good matchmaking. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
So, and then we have coming up next, I'm going to let you and Paris kind of lead control on this one. We have UFC 307 with Pereira versus Roundtree Jr. What are we thinking here? I know, Paris, you're a big UFC guy and you're pretty stoked about this one. What do you think?
I'm super stoked for this main event because it's definitely not going the distance. Like, either way, like, there's no way that it's going to go all the way 5 rounds because both these guys, Khalil Roundtree, who I love Khalil Roundtree, I will love watching him fight because when he smells blood, he just jumps on you and he's just so intense with all of his punches. And if you ask me, I think Khalil Roundtree is faster than Alex Pereira.
Okay. Yes.
And Yeah, I just think he can get in there and get those exchanges done quicker than Alex Pereira can. But Alex Pereira is obviously a good counter fighter.
Right.
And they both have that nuclear option to be able to just shut each other's lights out. So that one's, to me, almost kind of a toss-up. As you can see, Pereira is a negative 485 on the odds. And then Khalil Roundtree is a 370. I mean, I think between two knockout artists like this, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to throw a little bit of money on Khalil Roundtree. That's definitely what I'm doing.
20 by knockout.
Yeah, we should chip in a little bit of money. I'll leave you with like 20 or 40 bucks, and we should throw in a little cash on maybe like a, what do you think, second or third round KO maybe?
I usually just do KO.
Oh yeah.
So I usually
then the price goes up based if you pick.
Yeah,
the round.
and then so my plan, what I was going to do is I was going to do Khalil Roundtree and Juliana Pena. I was going to parlay those two because I feel like Juliana Pena can.
That'd be fun. Actually, I think we should. I mean, we don't have to necessarily do it this time, but like if we each threw in like 20 or 40 bucks towards a bet, you know.
Yeah, what I mean? I'm running down to the Wild Hair right after this and put my bet in.
He's like,
okay. Maybe I'm sorry if you hear this later on, but your hubby's gonna spend a little money. So yeah,
for the channel.
And I think actually what's interesting is I think one of Saint Denis' last fight was against Pereira, and he actually had him kind of against the ropes, if you will, and Pereira just managed. I think he landed.
Benoit Saint Denis. No. Alex Pereira fought in middleweight and light heavyweight, so that's 185 and 205.
Okay.
And Benoit Saint Denis a 155 or so lightweight. You might be thinking of a different
Pereira. Okay, I thought it was him, but because in that
Pereira, it was gosh, it's with the P though.
Yeah, I thought they said Pereira because in that France card they were talking about that. Anyways, either way. So
it's the guy that just lost to Islam. Who's the guy that just lost to Islam?
I'm not sure.
And he was losing to Saint Denis, and then he stood up, and then that's on the same undercard as Sean beat Cheeto. Yeah, and then he hits him with that, and the crowd goes wild.
Yeah,
we're watching that.
Pereira's last victims, if you call them that, are Yuri Prohaska, Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska again.
Okay,
pretty much all by.
Yeah, I don't know who
that
Jan Blachowicz. He's from Poland.
I thought the Blachowicz, that was a controversial decision. I thought he beat. But it's a split for a reason. I thought he had more control time. He did better.
Yeah, because you tend to see that like people like Adesanya and Pereira who are like heavy, like they come from kickboxing. Like obviously their wrestling and jiu-jitsu is not going to be top. It's good, but it's not going to be top notch against somebody like that
dominant wrestler. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't really been challenged by one of those type of fighters since then, really. I mean, this Roundtree one, what I have on that is he's going to have really good movement. Solid Muay Thai. He deserves to be in this title fight. He's a southpaw, and I know that Pereira knows how to fight southpaws. They train for that.
Well, see, the thing with that, too, is like Pereira had some trouble with southpaws. Izzy was just talking about this on Joe Rogan's podcast on how he likes to throw that high kick, and then with that high kick, it's not as effective as if you're standing in southpaw. You can move away from it easier.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like it's going to be a pretty sick fight either way. That's like a striker's delight right there. And I was looking at some stats, and it said that I think there was one takedown attempt in these guys' whole career. And I think the Jan Blachowicz fight.
So I wonder what's going to happen there. Huh?
Probably no takedowns.
Yeah,
and they might surprise you though. That wouldn't surprise me. Well, because that Pereira fight against Izzy, like that. The second one in the UFC, that was a lot of grappling. That was a solid MMA fight because they grappled, and then Izzy got the knockout. Thank you.
So I'm sorry to anyone screaming at me at home. It was actually Poirier, Dustin Poirier.
Oh yeah,
Poirier.
They totally look like the same.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Alex Pereira.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I was like,
I just seen it peed like similar.
Yeah,
and I was
thank
like,
you. Yeah.
Oh, no. So anyone that's mad at me out there, I'm still getting up on the UFC stuff.
Which I was actually at that fight when. That was UFC 299. That was a co-main event to Sean O'Malley's in Miami when he fought Cheeto. And Benoit and Dustin, like, if you ask me, I think Dustin lost the first round.
Oh, totally.
And he was kind of losing the second round, and then he just came back with that vicious KO and KO'd him, and like everybody went crazy. Yeah, it was sick.
And he got like a nasty, was it uppercut or right hand? I can't remember.
I think it was a left hook.
Okay, once again, I'm way freaking off.
And that was a pretty good fight too. And I think that's why they were hoping in the Islam fight, because he was kind of getting dominated by Islam, that he'd do the same thing, that something would happen. He'd knock Islam out, but Islam's top tier.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be a really exciting fight. And then, so who do we have next on that one?
Oh, then the co-main, the Penna versus Pennington. And I got Penna in this fight. I just think after watching Pennington's last few fights, you get Penna on your back like that, and she's going to finish you. You're not going to have an opportunity in your grappling because she gives her back up. Just quite simply.
And the fact that she stood with Amanda Nunes and then went to the ground with her and like submitted her in their first fight, which that was crazy.
That was
the fact that she can do that. I feel like Raquel Pennington is like, she's good in every area, but she's not great in every one thing. But the fact that Juliana Pena was able to stand with Amanda Nunes is kind of says right there.
Right.
Well,
and she probably wouldn't have stand up, and then she submitted her. And Amanda Nunes is like I think a second degree, maybe first degree black belt. Yeah. And so just showing that right there. And Juliana Pena is very sassy.
Which we like.
Very, very spicy.
We like that. So.
Yeah, and Pennington, she just has not great head movement, not great footwork. Her takedowns out in the open, she's not going to be good at. But if she gets you against the fence and she can get you to the ground and kind of grind you, she'll be good. And she does hit hard. So.
And then you have here Juliana Pena's last few fights. So she lost against Amanda Nunes with her belt. She lost it back to Amanda Nunes. Then Amanda Nunes retired. Then you have Sarah McMahon, who's a solid wrestler. She definitely is a good fighter. So Juliana Pena beat her. And then, the only people she's lost to are like some of the greats, like Jeraine Durandame. Like she's an amazing Muay Thai kickboxer.
I think she had a rock or something like that. Mm-hmm.
And but she actually got submitted, which is kind of crazy. And then she lost to Valentina Shevchenko, which she's obviously a really good striker. But kind of crazy, like the two of the best women strikers ever. Mm-hmm. Like she got beat by submission, and then armbar, which is just kind of crazy. But
that could have just been her them accidentally catching her off guard right there. Obviously, like you said, they're the two of the best strikers in the game, and they weren't able to end her in the fashion that they normally would end someone. So the fact that she was able to force them, if you will, to win in a different way kind of speaks for the type of fighter she is. Yeah,
she's tough as nails.
Yeah, so that'll be a really interesting one. A champion. I think the co-main and the main are both for belts. And then what do we got?
Yeah, both for belts. Yeah. If you ask me, I have two belts exchanging, in my opinion, changing titles and people that night. So I'm going for Cleo Roundtree and Juliana Pena. I definitely think it's going to be. And they're both underdogs too, so you could make some money on.
You can make a little bit of cheddar.
If you want to make an easy whatever, it's a plus 150 underdog for Penna. So.
And let it be known right now, if you people listen to us and go out and bet, that is on you if you lose. We are just people throwing out our personal opinion.
Yeah, these are just what we're thinking. We are in no way bookies or want to give professional betting advice.
Yeah, we'll save that for Ryan Garcia and Denver Sports Betting. You guys
also,
want some
I lose quite a bit of bets, so don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Also, please gamble responsibly.
Yeah, please. Don't get in trouble with your significant other and then try and blame through the ropes for why you can't pay your rent this month. So,
or maybe why you can pay your rent.
Oh, yeah. Yes, if you are up, please message us and let us know how well you did off of listening to us. So then what do we have for the third fight here?
So we got Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista. I don't know a ton about Mario Batista, but Jose Aldo's obviously a legend in the sport, fighting at featherweight and then moved down to bantamweight for this fight. And I can't remember his last few fights, but he definitely...
And Aldo has 30, 40 fights.
32 and 8.
Yeah, he's got 40 freaking fights. That dude's been around forever.
And we're going to watch an Aldo fight until he's in his walker.
Mm.
Yeah, he's had some absolute wars. I always bring it up, but Chad Mendez versus Jose Aldo 2 was one of my favorite fights ever. That was just a total banger, especially after the first round. It was so loud in there because it was in Brazil that Jose Aldo didn't even hear the bell, and he got a straight right onto Chad and knocked him down 2 or 3 seconds after the bell. So that was a little bit of controversial thing in that, but the rest of the fight was just badass.
Hey, I can't help it that the home team's out there making so much noise I can't hear it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know much about either of those guys. I know a little bit about Aldo just because he's been around so long. So, yeah, this will be an interesting fight because it's an 11 and a 10, I believe. So, just a little bit of ranking exchange, if you will, if one or the other wins there.
And just see how Jose does at bantamweight.
Yeah.
You know, the weight cut is a whole thing to go down. Sometimes it's not the best for you to go down.
And I wonder if was he struggling his last few fights? Is that maybe why he jumped down to bantam?
So he jumped down to bantamweight like I think 2 fights ago.
Okay.
And his last fight was versus Martinez guy. I can't remember his first name, but he looked really good in the last fight. Like really good.
So the weight cut didn't affect him like people maybe were.
No, I don't really think so. He looked pretty solid in his fights.
He might be a little closer to his natural then.
Yeah.
So he's not having to cut so hard.
Right.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need to go up.
Yeah. Then the next fight, we have Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. I love watching Kevin Holland fight. Kevin Holland is a kickboxer and always brings the noise and is a very good fighter. And then Roman Dolidze, he beat Anthony Smith last time, and I think he KO'd him like in the second round or something like that.
Retired him.
Yeah, it was just an absolute kind of beat down for that.
Yeah.
Sent him off to the ether there.
Well, that's the thing about the sport. It's brutal. Yeah. And the young eat the old.
I don't know much about either of these guys. I don't know much, but I know I saw, weren't we talking about Kevin Holland? His last fight was against MVP, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kevin Holland's last fight was against MVP in UFC 299 in Miami.
Yep.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah. And, that was sweet because that was MVP's first fight in the UFC because he fought in Bellator before that and a bunch of kickboxing organizations before that as well.
And he had just lost to Mike Perry in BKFC.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit before that.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he lost to Mike Perry in BKFC. But BKFC isn't really his thing, if you ask me.
Yeah.
He's obviously a karate fighter. So being a karate fighter like that, you want that kind of like in, out, in, out, in, out. That's kind of how they fight. Like you see that in Stephen Thompson also. That kind of point fighting. And then, I don't know.
When his stance, I would assume, makes it hard for a bare
Yeah, they have that
fighter.
like really sideways stance.
Yeah.
They like to throw those kicks, those side kicks really quick. Almost like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson almost kind of throws it like a jab, which is kind of crazy.
Who also happens to be someone on this card we'll touch on in just a second. And Kevin Holland, he was doing really good though, wasn't he, against MVP? That was a pretty close fight. And then MVP, didn't he get like a spinning back?
So there was like multiple, I think there was like 3 or 4 spinning tie elbows. So they're like over behind your head like that. Okay. And he caught Kevin Holland like 3 or 4 times like flush, which is kind of crazy.
And because Kevin's trying to move to that back side, you know, when you're bladed, he's trying to move to his back and he was just kind of reading it. MVP was. And so we just throw that quick little elbow. And it's a quicker elbow because you don't, if you're square with him, throw that elbow, you have to just spin more, quite simply.
Yeah.
And so if you're already halfway into the turn, so that's why I didn't knock him out, but it did hurt.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a pretty interesting fight. Like I said, I don't know a lot about either of these guys. I'm a little bit biased, but I always root for the US of A.
Kevin Holland's got actually a good submission game too, and his last fight was not MVP. It was I think that's Mikhail Olejnik, something like that. But he submitted him in the first round.
He's a black belt. He just got his black belt this year.
Nice.
Mikhail or
Kevin Holland.
Oh, Kevin Holland did. Yeah, I remember they were talking about that. He's really proud of his black belt, which he should.
He should be.
Yeah,
it's
he should
a
be.
Big accomplishment, and he's using it. Mm-hmm. But MVP's slick, and it's hard to get him down.
Right. When you probably just don't like Parasite, you don't see a lot of that fight stance. I feel like
who are you going to get?
You mainly see it from like karate style fighters who came from like the point karate game. Right. Like I said, like. Not Kevin Holland. MVP obviously came from that, and then Stephen Thompson is like someone you can really see that from as well.
Okay. And then so we want to touch on. Do we want to cover all the fights? You want to go through the next one there?
We got who's your guys' pick on these two? We actually never picked
Aldo, just because of the experience and
because he's an absolute savage.
Yeah. So and then I got
heart. That's
Holland.
Me with my heart is Aldo,
right?
And the Holland.
So I'll take Holland on that. So
yeah, my heart says Holland, and my brain says Roman Dolidze because he's just an absolute marauder.
Yeah, he's the dog on that.
No, yeah, he's the underdog on that one. Yeah. Plus 136, and then Holland is negative 162.
If you bet that up,
I mean, you could bet on Roman Dolidze.
Oh my God, look at the bet line on Harris.
Oh yeah, I have to agree with that. Kayla Harrison by absolute domination.
If you spend $100, you can win 10.
Yeah, you might owe 10 on that.
Yeah. So what do you think about this fight here? Once again, I don't know much about these, so I'll kind of defer to you two on this one.
Well, Vieira's no slouch. She's a judo black belt and a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt who looked very dominant in her previous few fights. So it's not Harrison walking to a title shot. She's going to have to work for it. If you think she's just going to win easily, you're wrong. But do I think Kayla's going to be stronger, faster, bigger? Cue the
bionic woman.
Yeah. Oh, man. And she's been tested like something like 30 times in the last year. So
wow.
That means, and she's not cheating. I mean, or she hasn't been caught. She's just a beast.
I don't think she's cheating. She placed in the Olympics. Was she a gold medalist in the Olympics?
I believe. And then, she was PFL champion for like 2-3 seasons.
Wow. Yeah, her record is 17-1.
Yeah.
Who beat her?
I always like rooting for a good wrestler. So.
Yeah, I mean, and she's American, so obviously you're going to go for the American.
I said I always go for American, then right before I was like, oh yeah, but also I'm going to take Aldo to win. So, yeah, it's fun to. I'm like I said, I'm kind of a nerd in that sense that I like just rooting for America. So a chunk of the time, I will just pick America. But yeah. And then, so what do we got next? I know you were excited about
Wonder Boy.
The Wonder Boy is on there. That was we'll cover this one.
Yeah, everything else I don't really know.
Yeah, so we got Joaquin Buckley and Steven the Wonder Boy Thompson. Paris, take it away since you know so much about him.
Yeah, I think once again you have a kind of, if you ask me, a striker's delight right here with these two, especially with Steven Thompson. I mean, he's getting a little bit older, but he's still like pretty good on his, well, obviously really good on his feet, but still you can see he's still kind of got that movement and he's still going to do that karate style in and out. And Joaquin Buckley has that kickboxing background. So I think it's going to be a really cool fight either way. Yeah. Once again, like I said, a striker's delight on this one, which could be not by decision. Like it'll probably not go the distance, but if it does go to the distance, it has the, I guess, tendency to be maybe a boring fight also, because like when you get two really good strikers together, it can almost be a boring fight because they're almost kind of waiting, especially if they're counter strikers.
Yeah. So they're picking their perfect moment, if you will, and it feels like most of the fight is them kind of dancing around and looking for that open opportunity.
Feel each other out. And then like that's maybe almost something too with like the main event is I don't think it's going to go like that, but if you have two guys who have like absolute really good KO power and that could shut each other's lights out at any moment, you have that tendency to where they don't want to rush in and they want to pick their shots a little bit more and maybe add some more feints and whatnot in there.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes like we were saying that I don't want to say those fights can be boring, if you will, but then once one side gets that opportunity and lands a punch, then it seems like boom, immediately that fight goes from 0 to 100, and then they push that pressure a lot more. So it'll be exciting to see what happens there. So
I got Buckley in this fight just because he's more explosive. They both are exciting fighters. Wonder Boy is still one of the best strikers in the division, even with, like you're saying, he's getting a little older, but he's still an exciting. But I feel like if Wonder Boy wins, it's more going to be him doing the karate point style, striking, avoiding that explosiveness. But I just think Buckley's on the up and coming, and he's awesome explosive finishes. I just think he gets something. I think when that opportunity strikes, I think his is going to be just a bit more powerful.
Yeah.
And just... Yeah, that's just a bit quicker.
Yeah, I like what you say about that. Like, he has the power, and then he has the speed, I think, in that one. And then I think Steven Thompson will definitely be using that, probably that sidekick to try to keep him at bay, keep him at distance and whatnot. But I got the viral KO from Joaquin Buckley right here that's heard around the world.
Dink.
Oh,
I love that.
It's so insane. You were talking about that a little bit ago, Paris, about how it's almost like he sets up. He gave him that leg, and then he uses that momentum off of him holding his leg to do that spinning kick. And it's insane. I don't know it's not like I'm a UFC know so much, but I haven't seen anything like that before.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that either in the cage like that. Just the dexterity in your legs to be able to do that, I think is.
I think it's not that hard. Like I said, you can do it. Just train it. Just throw it.
Well, and just in the moment and just the strength and the speed to be able to whip that around that quickly and connect.
Yeah, all of that. And then plus having the creativity to think of that strike while you're in there. Because
No, they thought of that in the gym. They trained that. Just how he did that.
Yeah.
Like his body did that. He didn't even think it. He just... Oh, we do this.
Oh, yeah, he's like, I've done this a million
I
times.
can do this in the gym.
So yeah, that kind of wraps up UFC 307, and so now we have just a lot of super interesting stuff coming up locally and around Montana. We have Fusion Fight League. Is it another Rising Stars event?
Yeah, it's a Rising Stars event.
Yeah, so this will be a really fun one in Missoula, October 18th. Paris is actually going to be there working it. I don't know if I'll be able to make it because I'm going to be gone in Seattle, and then I'll be in Helena for a week, and I got a lot of stuff going on this month. But yeah, some really cool people. I can never remember their first names, but we have Kettering, something Kettering. He fought in Missoula when on the Gage mix card, or the Saunders mix card, if you will, and he had an awesome, in my opinion, his fight could have been fight of the night, and he had like there's some really good striking and stuff. And then we also have the young man, the blonde-haired kid. I've seen him fight at Seasons Beatings, and then he also fought at Missoula as well. As something Graham is his last name, but this kid is a freaking monster, dude.
Yeah, fights out of Dog Pound.
Yeah, I think both actually fight out of Dog Pound. And yeah, just really good striking ability, takedown ability. His ground game is awesome. Dude's yoked, young BA, if you will. So I'm not exactly sure who else is all on this card. It's not. Are they all AMI fights?
Yeah, I think they're all AMI fights.
Yeah.
But the thing with all AMI fights, what I like is you get a lot more KOs and you get a lot more finishes. Because, with the pro guys, they tend to be a little bit more calculated. But with the AMI guys, they tend to just go in and go for it. And that's kind of like, those are the fights that people like to watch, is the kind of craziness and watching all that go. So I think it's a really exciting card, and I think it's going to be really fun to watch. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think, well, and with just those two that I named, Kettering and Graham alone, there's a lot of possibility for KO. Those dudes throw a lot of heat behind their punches, so I think those will be the two main fights to watch. But yeah, like you're saying, sometimes, it can get a little sloppier if one has a little bit better takedown, wrestling capabilities. Sometimes those can get a little boring.
I'm thinking that Fusion's done a really good job lately of evening out their matchmaking on the AMI levels. So the freestyle fighter's not taking on the Dog Pound fighter. Right. That's just not fair to that guy. The Dog Pound fighter is training for real. That guy's in his garage with his two homies. Yeah. It's a foregone conclusion. If you're going to have that, you need two guys in that garage fighting each other.
And then not saying that the AMI guys are not calculated or anything, but you just tend to see that a lot more from upcomers who haven't been in the cage a whole bunch. They tend to get a little more wild, which can be fun to watch, obviously.
At least in round one.
Well, and they're trying to still build their base and build up, their whole thing. So I feel like they kind of swing a little bit harder because they want to put on that show. They want people to recognize them. They want to be the fight of the night, and kind of build that momentum behind their star, rising star, if you will.
And I just want to remind you guys that Sugar Sean O'Malley started fighting in these little events in your hometown, and now he's famous. This is your opportunity to see someone and be on the ground level of one of your future favorite fighters.
Yeah.
Out there, you're helping them. Right. Buy their merch.
So get out there and support it. Fusion, I think, does a really good job with their production and the fights that they put on, and to be able to bring some of this high-level competition while having 2, 3, potentially 4 fights drop out, maybe a week or less before the fight. They do a really good job of handling the craziness, if you will, that leads up to a fight. So just get out there and support Fusion. They put on a great show. Get out there, support these fighters. These people are from your own hometown, chasing after their dreams. So just get out there and support them. I mean, it's awesome to watch.
I might be biased here, but I'm going to say you're not going to find a production level like Fusion Fight League anywhere else in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And like I said, I might be biased, but having gone to events, it is
right,
and they're commissioned, so their fighters are safe. They're taking care of them.
Yeah,
we've had the cheating.
We've had the privilege of meeting a couple of the commissioners, and they're really good dudes.
They're super cool. Once they get out of there, hey, I'm in charge. We're like, yeah, we know you're in charge. You're super cool. He's like, all right, cool.
Do you want me to call you Zaddy? Or
Just let me stay.
So next we have BKFC going to Denver at the end of the month. This is BKFC 67, which is a pretty awesome card. Sawyer DeP is finally back in the squared circle. He's fighting Chris Camozzi, who is on just over a year break from fighting. It's not like it was a break that Chris had wanted. He's just kind of been put on ice after his loss to Lorenzo Hunt, which was honestly, if you saw it in person, Paris and I were lucky enough to see in person. That was like two mountains fighting each other. It was a great fight. So.
It says 205.
Yeah. It was insane, bro. And so that was a really close fight that honestly, in my opinion, it could have went either way on that Lorenzo one. Lorenzo landed a couple harder strikes, but so now we have Sawyer, the Montana boy, going down there, and this is for the vacated title that Lorenzo actually gave up so he could fight Mick Terrell. So this is a really interesting for me. I like both these guys a lot. I've had the privilege of meeting and just talking to both of them. Obviously, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I love Chris, but I'm going to be rooting for Sawyer all the way. He's a Montana boy chasing that gold, and I just think it would be super awesome to have two division title, or not two division, but two different titles in Montana through BKFC. We obviously have Kai the King Stewart with his title, and then if DP brings it back, we'd have two in Montana in the same fight promotion, which I think would be huge for Montana, and it is huge. It's building of its fight community, if you will. So
yeah, and like we're saying, Montana boys are just tough. We got nothing better to do than hit each other in the head. So.
Right. And if you'll pull up that card again real quick. So then also I'm really excited for we have this dude Strode. Andrew Strode is going to be fighting on the card. I believe, is that him, the third fight there?
No, there
down at the base.
Yeah,
and he's a really good dude out of Bushman Sports Management. Some really good fighters they're breeding out of there. Not breeding, geez, that they're creating out of there. They're breeding them in a science lab. This dude is a BA. I got to watch him fight in Denver as well, and I think he's only had one other fight since then, maybe not, but he's having a hard time just finding people that want to fight him because he's that aggressive and he's that good. So I'm excited to see him back there. And I thought Andrew Yates was maybe going to be on this card as well, but I don't.
He's on the undercard.
Okay, so he's on the undercard. Once again, another awesome dude that I met in Denver. He broke both of his hands, and I think that was his last fight. He broke his right in the second and his left in the third, and he finished the fight. It went to a decision. So a couple really good, awesome fighters. Then Edwards up there too. I can't remember his first name, but Marcus Edwards, I believe. But he's a really tough fighter who he just went bananas in his fight down in Denver last year. So yeah, really exciting card. And then we also, after that, have the big one, baby. BKFC is coming back to Montana. BKFC 60, I think it's 68 then, because then they have the Contender Series, which actually Dakota High Pine is going to be co-maining, which is really exciting. Dakota's a scrappy dude, and he's had a little bit of trouble his last few fights, but he's fought in some really tough people in that featherweight division. So he'll be co-maining that. And then we have obviously BKFC, 68. BKFC's coming back to Montana. Kai the man Stewart will be defending his title. We were told it was Jimmy Rivera, but now it seems like Jimmy hasn't signed the contract yet. I seen like a day or two ago Kai was calling him out, basically telling him to sign the contract, which is insane to me that they're waiting for that. When Kai had just beaten Brian Duran, Jimmy hopped in the ring and kind of tried. I don't like saying they tried to steal his moment, but you're going to call him out and then make him wait to know if he's fighting you. It seems just kind of funny to me, but so that'll be a super exciting card. I believe Dakota, his girlfriend's going to be fighting on that card in an amateur bare knuckle fight, which will be cool. Just, I mean, I don't know how many times you've heard of a boyfriend and a girlfriend being on the same fight card, but that's kind of special in itself.
I've heard of it a couple times in UFC, and then
I'm sure Gage and Marnick maybe have, right? Maybe.
Yeah, they might have.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Pat Barry and Rose Namajunas too. And
okay.
I think maybe they fought it. I don't know. Pat Barry
I remember
retired.
watching one of them, and then I remember watching this guy, and he was cornering his wife, and then he had to fight, and he said, "I'll never do that again in the same night," because your brain. I think when you interviewed Shay O'Neill from Butte before that last card, he mentioned the same thing, how he doesn't like to corner anyone before the fight because your brain's divided.
Right.
You know, you got to just focus. So
you're shifted to a different gear almost.
Yeah, because now you're concerned with their combos and their things instead of thinking about what your opponent's going to do and what you're good at.
So it'll be exciting. I think that there's going to actually be quite a few of the homies from Flow State on that card. I believe I've heard Tristan Gregori is going to be on that card. I believe so. Ryan Ibsen, and then I believe Lance Regenball. I don't know if these are all confirmed yet or not. And then, dang it, I can't remember. There was one other. I hope maybe we get to see Dallas Davison again down there.
A sign.
And then I would like to see, I mean, obviously because Leo's kind of the Montana hero, especially after he had that really tough loss down in Miami, which, to be fair, he took that fight on really short notice. I think he had like a 2-week notice and he took that fight. So kudos to him for even I mean, whether you win or lose, if you rep Montana in that sense where you're just going to take a fight just because you know that you're the man, you know, kudos to that. So yeah, it'll be an exciting card. I think they're starting to put all the pieces together on that. So hopefully here soon we'll see an actual fight card. People, we need to get out there and really try and sell out this one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Terrell, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, and be sure to buy your tickets from fighters like the Kai, like the Flow State guys. If you go to see Sawyer's fight, buy them from Sawyer. Like, buy the tickets from the fighters because they get a portion of that money.
Right, and it really helps them out. Just that little bit of commission that they could get off of selling a bunch of these tables or tickets or whatever could really help them in the future for their fight camps and stuff like that. So
yeah, I get that. Or if they have a t-shirt or some piece of merch, if you got an extra $10-$20, buy that from them. That can be the difference between them being able to train this month and not have to worry about something.
Well, and this is
up-and-comers.
This is a crucial one for us because it's been hard to get BKFC back here, and we finally are getting them here. We talked about it before. I think we are being, I don't want to say BKFC necessarily is setting us up, but I feel like we are being set up for a little bit of failure because I believe we do have the Cats and the Grizz are at home that weekend, playing at home. I think one of them for sure is a night game. So it seems kind of funny to me that they would schedule something so big in between, or, you know, while something that would obviously take away from the venue at the same time. But so the only thing that I really I'm going to keep echoing this whole month leading up to that is we got to get out there, we got to buy tickets, and we got to pack that arena, because if we want to have top tier stuff like this continue to come back to Montana, we need to show these people that we're willing to support these fighters and willing to support the promotion coming here. Because, you know, they obviously like to stick to the East Coast because that's where they're at, and I feel like a lot of their bread and butter is obviously Hollywood, Florida is a huge draw for them. So it's obviously a lot more to get them over here, to get fighters over here, and just the whole production is that much more getting over here. So I just can't say it enough. Please go out and support these fighters, and let's fill this arena up. So,
and plus, you know, these Montana boys are going to give their all. You know,
every time.
Yeah.
You're carrying them out on a stretcher if they lose.
Yeah.
No one's going to quit in that ring from Montana.
Yeah.
I think one last thing that we should probably talk about is the BKFC on October 12th would be Monday.
Yeah. How did I not even think of that? That's the one I'm most excited about. They're over in Marabella, Spain. So, you know, the homie Conor McGregor is definitely going to be there. I think he's honestly, they've been promoting it with him like a bunch recently. The thing that I'm most excited, there's the top 3 fights are so good, dude. We got freaking Dave Mundell versus Christie. Then we have Austin Trout versus Franco. And then we have, what was the third one? Oh yeah, Soto and Tangila, I believe is his name. So I think at least 2 of those 3, or if not all 3, are fights for title fights. Dave Mundell obviously has the belt already. That's what I'm most excited about. I had a chance to meet him down in Salt Lake. Great dude. Once again, he's been on ice for almost a year, I think, after his last fight. And he's been begging to get a fight. And who he wanted most was Mike Perry. Because in my opinion, dude, Dave Mundell is legit the king of violence in the BKFC. He's got, what has he got? Like 13, 12 fights or something like that. And I mean, other than one loss, I mean, this dude has just been tearing through his division. So,
and I gotta say,
8-1. Okay.
He lost to Hector Lombard 4 years ago.
Yeah,
and Hector Lombard's no joke.
Yeah,
UFC veteran.
Well, and just those last couple there, we got Julian Lane, Dave Simpson, Ricci, Mike Richmond, Doug Coltrane. I mean, geez, this dude has been tearing apart some of the toughest people in BKFC, in my opinion. Yeah. Dave Simpson is a badass in his own right. So, yeah, out of all the fights, I mean, obviously Austin Trout, his last fight, he'd won against the title against Palomino, where his boxing just really shined through, and he pieced apart Palomino pretty well, pretty handily. And and Soto is just a freaking dog, dude, that's been waiting for a while to get a fight. So I'm really excited to see him back in the squared circle as well. So basically, I feel like in the next month, man, I mean, this one's next weekend. October 12th. So yeah, not this weekend, but the next one. So it's 7 days, 21 hours, and 5 minutes for anyone counting. So this next month, dude, I mean, BKFC alone is stacked with some really good cards. And then we obviously have 307, which is a banger of a card. We got Fusion, Rising Stars. There's a lot of stuff to go out and a lot of stuff to see as far as fight wise. We'll try to get to as much of it as we can. I definitely will hit probably those 3 BKFC cards. Watching wise, and once again, just get out there and support these people any way that you can. You know, buy a little bit of merch, give them a like, a follow, a share, whatever you can do to help just trying to promote these people. Because I mean, just, like most of these guys, like Dave Mundell's a freaking union electrician. You know, it's just a lot of these people are just average Joe. I don't want to say average Joe, but just good people, really good people who are out there just chasing their dreams while still maintaining a full-time or even more job. So. Yeah. Support them any way you can. So,
and then Wheaton. One last thing is we have UFC 308 at the end of the month. So October is like, if you're a fight fan, this is definitely like probably the best month for you.
Yeah,
I mean, you have like some of the biggest stars, some of the biggest fights happening. Like, it can't really get much more exciting than this.
And obviously, we remember how the last Holloway fight went down.
Yeah, greatest KO of all time.
Yeah. So, and maybe we can cover that as we get closer to that. We just we've reached over an hour, I believe. I think you said over there. So, yeah, it might be time to I got to get ready and head out to Seattle here today. So I'm finishing up a couple things.
Who's on that undercard? Will you go down again? Down here.
Yeah, Jeff Neal. Oh, Jeff Neal versus RDA.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I knew there's someone, and then another Russian guy that's going to dominate, and then they got all types of Russians on the card. Where are they fighting?
This one's in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, that's why.
So this is the card that is at. It's at 12 p.m. here, and I'm going to be in Hawaii, so I'm going to have to get up at 8 a.m. and watch this card over there. So I'll be watching an 8 a.m. UFC fight. So hopefully.
Taking shots over in Hawaii at 8 a.m. watching UFC.
Hopefully the Willy Willy that just opened in Kauai will be playing it. So, and then watching Max Holloway fight in Hawaii.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sick. I mean,
I bet you it's going to
be. It's going to be, even though it's going to be at like 8 a.m., I feel like there's going to be people going ham.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. Still from the night before.
So yeah, I feel like, we had to kind of go through some of that stuff quickly, but we covered quite a bit there. Like you said, October's stacked with awesome UFC and BKFC stuff. So get out there and watch it, and make sure you watch it so then, you can kind of know what we're talking about, or don't watch it and then we'll tell you about it. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Either way, we are going to cover what we see.
Oh. Side note, Karate Combat has an event on the 11th of October too. Nice. So you are literally stacked full of everything.
Every weekend has got something going on. So this is the boys at Through the Ropes, Jake, Paris, and Drew. We really appreciate the love and support. We had an outpouring of people reach out to us after that first episode, and you guys were awesome. Thank you for all the views. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share our stuff. Help us build a little momentum. We love you guys. Thank you for listening to an average Joe and two people who kind of know what they're talking about. Drew, you got anything?
I don't know. I just appreciate you guys, especially everyone who's actually watched the episodes, gave me constructive criticism, laughed at the jokes we told. We all appreciate you.
Yeah. And Paris, you want to close us out with our sponsorship and anything else?
Yeah. So this episode is sponsored by Fresh Bread Productions. Fresh Bread Productions is a video and photo company that will help you with all of your photo and video needs, both personal and commercial. Reach out to Fresh Bread Productions on Instagram or freshbreadproductions.com.
Nice. Yeah. And in that, thank you again for listening. And we are excited to bring you all kinds of fight news throughout the world here. So we'll talk to you guys soon.